What's going on, everybody? Happy Monday, and welcome into another edition of the Better Baseball MLB DFS podcast here at Fantasy Alarm and the Better Sports Network. I am your host, James Grande, and no, it's not Justin Fensterman. No, it's not John Impemba. No, it's not Colby Conway, who we saw last week. It is the one and only, the Roto Buzz guy, Howard Bender, here with me on today's show. Howard, what's going on, brother? Happy Monday. And welcome into the podcast. I know you filled in admirably last Monday, so you're back at it again this Monday.
I am back at it again this Monday. I'm very much looking forward to it. Listen, what's better than spending like your morning cup of coffee or bottle of water, for that matter, than hanging out here on the Better Sports Network. First, it's the morning show. Now here we are here on the DFS podcast. So let's chop it up.
I mean, talk about a grinder. Now we're not talking about a coffee grinder. That's to come soon for both of us. But it is the grinder that you are, Howard. We appreciate you very much. So interesting weekend behind us of baseball. We had course field slates galore. But on to Monday slate, Howard. And as per usual, we dive into our odds section here to kick off what's going on. A look ahead, shall we? Anything interesting in terms of money lines or over-unders that you see? We don't have to deal with Coors, thankfully. I feel a little fatigue from Coors over the last 6 games, because I think it's been back-to-back series at Coors Field. Anything that we should be looking at, or anything that you have your eye on the Vegas front?
Are we talking about just the main slate for DFS? So,
Yep.
Okay. Then no, I don't think that there's anything that really stood out. As far as the lines went, I was looking at some of the. The money lines don't really have too great of an effect. So obviously taking a look at the totals, and I don't really see anything set too much tonight. I think it's kind of funny right now. Lines that I'm seeing: Atlanta, Cleveland. You expect that to be a 9. With the matchup there, I'm surprised that DraftKings has some interesting, lines that are out now. The 7.5 for the Twins Royals game. I think that might be a little one-sided, maybe a little low there. That maybe that's what they're thinking. And then, as far as like looking at the line that you've got right now for Seattle, San Francisco, makes it look like you've got yourself a nice little pitching matchup. So lean pitchers, not hitters.
Yeah, I think that was the one game that stood out to me. Anytime you see 7 implied runs, I think that's very notable. It's a good pitching environment out west in Seattle or in San Francisco, and it is a good matchup overall. Logan Webb versus Brian Wu. So, good transition, I'd say, right into the pitcher's position. Howard, what are your top pitching options on this main slate?
Listen, two bits of news that I think are incredibly important to this bit of what we're looking at now for starting pitching. Number one, Clayton Kershaw is actually expected to land on the IL.
Yep.
I looked into it, and so far the only thing that I have seen is that Michael Grove is the candidate to be called up. And
it's Christmas.
It's
Christmas. It's Christmas.
So automatically, that turns into a beautiful hitting target. But you know what? If we're talking about on the pitching side, how about this? Jaime Barria has been pushed up, and he's going to be pitching on 4 days rest, so that Ohtani can let his cracked fingernail heal. And Barria, listen, he's not a great pitcher, and obviously that's definitely going to push your attention more towards the Padres in that matchup. But what I think that allows you, that pushes you to do, is think more about, okay, if it's Michael Grove and the Pirates, we've got some bargain hitters there. But if you want to stack like Padres, and you want to look at Tatis, and you want to look at Soto, and you want to look at some of those, some of those big bats that are in there for the Padres, then you're going to have to find some value. And I think that while my top, my top plays are Joe Ryan and Logan Webb, but I don't think I'm going to even use either of them based on some of the hitters that I want to use.
So I'd agree on who the top options are. I'm not totally there yet on fading Joe Ryan per se, and I think that has to do more with the matchup because what we've known from Kansas City from Jump Street is that they can't hit right-handed pitching, and that hasn't changed one bit with
Yeah.
when Vinny Pasquantino was in the lineup to when he wasn't, right? And that only made it worse because he was one of their best bats in that lineup. So I understand that Joe Ryan is coming off the start. You know what, Howard? Chalk that one up as the Braves being the Braves, right? Like,
Oh yeah, I'm not worried about Joe Ryan. The only thing that that concerns me about Joe Ryan, and I guess as we kind of look through some value plays and things like that, I mean, I'd love to use him. I just, if you want to stack that top end of the
right.
Padres lineup, chances are you're probably not going to be able to.
I guess it depends because we can then pivot to our favorite value plays. Because talk to me about who those guys or one singular player is, because it depends. Like Brian Wu at 6,600 is, I think, a pitcher that you and I both have interest in.
Mhm.
If we were to start a build, right, hypothetically with Wu and Ryan, you still have nearly $4,200 a position, like per player, for the rest of your. So like you could probably make a lineup. I know where you're coming from, but that's just an example. But why don't you talk to
Yeah.
me about Wu at 6,600 and why you're so high on him?
I mean, listen, I'm a big fan of his. I mean, Cleveland's not a good lineup. They're a lineup that's built for speed and not power, and yet they try to be power hitters with Josh Naylor and Jose Ramirez. It's not a strong lineup. And what Wu gives you is that he gives you a guy who's going to go five and 2/3 innings. He's going to keep the damage to a minimum. There's nothing great about him. He's got good strikeouts, not great strikeouts. I think the best thing about Wu here is the fact that he is going up against, a Cleveland team that, for all intents and purposes, pretty soft. You look at them; they're in the bottom five in weighted on base average against right-handed pitching. Their isolated power mark is around like 120, 125. So that's clearly below average. So you're not dealing with a heavy hitting lineup. Could he get caught up by giving up a home run to Jose Ramirez? Yeah, of course he could. But what you're looking for, and let's call him our second starter because there's nobody below him that I'm even going to remotely think about. So as your second starter, you give me 5 innings, 5 or 6 strikeouts. You give up 2 earned runs. I'm okay with that. I think that he will likely be in for the, hopefully be in line for the win. But, I mean, we'll have to wait and see about that. But minimizing damage at that price to me is what's most important.
It is just worth noting, Howard, he is facing San Francisco.
Oh, San Francisco, that's right. I
San
was saying
Francisco,
Cleveland.
it's okay. It's still relatively a good spot. San Francisco is a team that has struck out a lot. They've been a team that has had a lot of injuries on their off. I mean, Levante Wade misses the last weekend. Michael Conforto's been in and out of the lineup. Yastrzemski back on the IL. What was once a lefty riddled lineup is not and hasn't been the last few days, just with all the injuries. So definitely benefits Wu regardless. He's our SP Wu today, Howard. He's my favorite SP Wu of the slate for sure. If you were looking at any other spend down options, who would be that for you?
I don't. I mean, below Wu, nobody. If I'm looking for somebody with value, I like Bryce Elder a lot, and that's
Okay.
there you go. If I want to start, talking about facing Cleveland, I guess is
Right.
the way to do it. Maybe that's kind of where my mindset was
Right.
with that because yeah, I mean, listen, I think Elder. I mean, look at what the Braves are doing right now. I mean,
Yeah, it's stupid.
what is it, 8 or 9 in a row that they've won, but they've won 16 out of their last 17 games. The
Yeah.
bats are wide awake. The pitchers are getting the run support. The pitchers are pitching with tremendous confidence. And let's face it, like I fear for poor little Gavin Williams. I know what he did against Kansas City, but the start before that against Oakland, he had trouble with because he was nervous. I mean, what are you going to do when you're like standing there on the mound and you're looking down the barrel of this gun that's the Braves lineup? So, I think Bryce Elder, I don't think he'll have a big issue with that Cleveland lineup at all. If I didn't think Wu was going to have it, you certainly didn't think Bryce Elder was going to. So, obviously Elder is a guy who, Now, if you really wanted to get crazy, you could probably go Elder and Wu in your lineup, but you still want to go Joe Ryan. I get it. I get
No,
it. But I like Elder.
not necessarily. I like Elder. The only thing that I sometimes struggle with Bryce Elder, and I was in on him in the Minnesota start, is when he's $9,200, I can't get 16 fantasy points. If I want to win a tournament, it's fine for a cash game. If I'm someone who is playing tournaments with Bryce Elder, I need the 8 strikeout performance that he had against the Mets, or I need the start prior against Philly where he goes 7 scoreless, because he isn't a guy who's going to strike out a lot of people. He's just not. And Cleveland isn't a team that strikes out to begin with. Right. So I think Elder fits best in a cash game. Okay. But 8,100 is also the best price he's been since,
April. You could throw Jump Street out there, couldn't you? I just love hearing young kids say Jump Street these days.
It's a pretty good phrase.
That's a line from my era.
It is a line. Well, they also they dropped the movie 21 Jump Street and 22 Jump Street and all the Jump Streets, and they're good. You should watch
it was a TV show before it was a movie.
Well, that one flew over my head.
Are you serious? Johnny Depp?
Yeah, I had no idea.
Peter DeLuise?
No idea who that person is.
Oh.
No idea who that person is. I'm sure they had a great acting career. No idea.
Oh my God. I wish the 80s would just come in and take a dump on your lap.
You know who they probably were acting pretty wells back in the day. So I'm gonna go with Tyler here. And
that was the worst segue known to mankind. That was horrible.
I'm known for it. It's what I'm known for. Just go back and watch some of these episodes. Just go back and watch some of these episodes. I drop a couple of these per show.
You're too young for the dad jokes. Orion is not old enough yet for these dad jokes.
Well, I'm preparing for number 2, so there's all gas, no brakes at this point, Howard. There's no going back. We're full-fledged ahead. But now that bad joke aside, look, Tyler Wells has been probably top 5, one of the most surprising arms across the league, I'd say. Yeah. And mostly because of the strikeouts. You look up and down 7, 6, 8, anomaly 4, 9, 7, 8, 7, 8. Tyler Wells has turned into a pretty elite strikeout artist. And we're talking about teams. Cincinnati, good offense. Tampa Bay has been the best team in baseball throughout. Toronto, San Francisco, good team after good team after good team. And Tyler Wells continues to pitch well. And now he gets the Yankees. And I know the Yankees woke up a little bit post and during the Domingo Germán perfect game. But, they are still missing a lot of what they do best. And that's just Aaron Judge specifically. And the rest of the lineup, other than Anthony Volpe, is just not doing anything. So I really like Tyler Wells here, 7,700. Another guy who's just severely underpriced compared to what he's kind of been. And I think there's a lot of strikeout appeal. And that's where me who plays tournaments would rather play him than someone like Bryce Elder in a tournament, because I think there's just infinitely more strikeout upside. And when you're playing DraftKings, not FanDuel, that's what you need. You need people who can miss bats, because DraftKings dings you for every time someone reaches base, every time someone breaks a fingernail, you lose a point. So I really like Tyler Wells at 7,700 against the Yankees.
I could definitely get behind Tyler Wells. Obviously, you never want to go up against your Yankees, but dude, this is not our Yankees. This is definitely a shell of our Yankee team. So I've got no problem going with Tyler Wells. Big fan. Obviously, he's going opposite Domingo Germán, who's coming off of the perfect game. There's zero chance that he's ever going to come close to that level again. So you're probably ticking towards Tyler Wells on getting that win for you too.
Yeah. You know what? The Yankee Stadium buff for offenses hasn't been this year. It has not been a very good. When you look at our park ratings over at FantasyAlarm.com, has not been a very offensive-friendly park, other than that right field porch. So something to keep in mind. Howard, before we head into our infield breakdown, I just want to give the people out there a little read here about RT Sports, real-time sports, and their pick'em promo they got running over there. RTsports.com. And if you guys do want to play a little pick'em, you guys have played PrizePicks and Underdog. It's essentially similar. They have a pick'em on their daily contest. If you go to rtsports.com/alarm, first time depositors get an instant $100 deposit match or 100% deposit match up to $200 using code alarm23. And it's been a really nice, profitable game over this weekend. I've tested it. I really liked it. It's props. It's over. It's under. You want Kevin Gossman 7.5 strikeouts on Sunday? Do you want Bryce Harper 7.5 fantasy points over under? It's been a very nice change of pace from PrizePicks and Underdog, and they're our partner, and I using their site means more to me at this time. So if you guys want to come over and go to rtsports.com/alarm using code alarm23, it's a 100% instant match up to $200. Again, it's so RT Sports has been a great find over this weekend, Howard, for me, and I've really enjoyed my time over there.
All right, sounds good. And as always, everybody, please play responsibly. If somebody out there does need help, you or anybody 1-800-GAMBLER is the way to go. All right, let's do that infield breakdown because I almost feel like I don't know how long you and John usually go for the run here, but I almost feel like we can blend it because it's a short slate. I feel like we can talk infield and outfield at the same time because I've got certain targets basically. But if you want to stay with the infield here, I'll just my top plays, and the reason for it here's what I've got earmarked. I've got earmarked stacking Padres because of the matchup against Jaime Barria being pushed up, and I worry about him. If Michael Grove does get the start and it's a bullpen game for the Dodgers, load me up on Pirates. They're mostly at value plays right now. And I love Braves lefties against Gavin Williams, and I love Twins righties, against Austin Cox, the lefty for them. So top plays in the infield for me right now: Matt Olson at first, Manny Machado at third. Give me the corners. Give me some serious power. I know they cost you a ton of money, but those guys, I mean, come on. Look at what Olson's been doing in recent games right now. I don't know how you fade any of these Braves hitters.
Yeah, I don't know how you fade any Brave ever. I put out a tweet on Saturday and said, for now on, if I'm playing multiple lineups, I'm just running a 5-stack Brave lineup every single day until it just proves that it's not going to work anymore, because it's working.
Until Acuna is $7,500.
Even then, I'll find a way. I'll find a way at that point, because he's still going to go 40 and 80 this year. So it's still probably going to pay off. I don't have much to add at the top tier per se. I like all those names. I do like Baltimore here because my fade at pitcher is Domingo Germán, and fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, or fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I don't know, however the saying goes.
Well, you caught it finally.
Okay, whatever the saying is, Domingo Germán is not that guy, and I wish I had the meme. He's not that guy, pal. He went into that start against Oakland allowing 15 earned runs over his last 2 starts, and then he gets Oakland, right? And obviously, Domingo Germán had a career start. But Ryan O'Hearn has been a good power bat from the left side, and Domingo Germán has struggled against lefties. Gunnar Henderson has been a very good power bat from the left side. He has given righties fits. And how about Jordan Westburg, if we want to dive into the value tier? 11 of his 12 AAA home runs or minor league home runs this year came against right-handed pitching. Guy is now multi-position eligible. He's extremely talented. And yes, he's going to hit at the bottom of this order for Baltimore. But we talk about it all the time. I love wraparound stacks here, Howard. Mm-hmm. And Jordan Westburg, and I'm going to be stacking Baltimore, I would include them into the mix, into the fray that you included, because I have nothing really to add on that front. You are correct on all those. I'm throwing Baltimore in the ring because Domingo Germán, outside of an outlier performance, and outside of a performance he was using sticky stuff and they let him pitch through, he's been terrible for the large part of the year. So I really like some Baltimore and Westburg, O'Hearn for a cheap home run. and Gunnar Henderson here in the infield.
Interesting. Yeah, well, I mean, we'll have to see what the lineup actually looks like when it does come out. Sunday's lineup had Westberg batting seventh.
Yep.
And even going up against a righty in Sonny Gray. Hearn got the day off. I guess maybe that's probably because they had Rutschman as the DH, so they had to find a home for Anthony Bemboom. But yeah, I'd love to see it. Like if it wrapped around like that, and you got like the Westberg Mullins kind of Gunnar Henderson sort of thing, I'd be in on that. I would definitely be in on that.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I was gonna throw out some value guys to throw in there as well. You know, I mean, like I said, Padres. So Gary Sanchez is in play for me. I got a feeling about Jake Cronenworth. I don't know what it is. I've got a feeling about Jake Cronenworth, and I'm gonna, you know, take a look at him. I just, again, it's Berea who,
right,
you know, for his career, you know, you're talking about like a 341 weighted on base average against left-handed hitters. So, you know, you're looking at him being, excuse me, pushed up. His numbers against lefties aren't really great right now either. I mean, they're not great against righties, but they're worse against lefties, and that's just been his tradition. So, you know, I kind of look at Cronenworth. Haesung Kim might get a look from me. And then I like Carlos Correa as a nice little value play as well. I think Correa is going to be nice. And then we were talking about before, we were talking about the Pittsburgh Pirates. You know, Correa for me, the right-handed bat. I love that against Austin Cox. But then, you know, if we're talking about stacking those Pirates, we'll have to see what the lineup looks like. But Carlos Santana, Henry Davis, like, you know, those guys are going to be available to you at like next to nothing in price.
Nick Gonzalez is nothing in price. He's been kind of good since getting called up too. Little pop in his bat, 2K, second base, shortstop eligible. So love the Pirates value, especially if Michael Grove is on the mound. Howard, throw some of your favorite outfield plays. I know you were like thinking about grouping them, but we got there's always a lot of outfielders available. So who are some of your favorite outfielders on Monday's slate?
All right. Well, again, I'm sticking in that same range. I'm telling you, I'm gonna have like 4 different teams represented in my lineup, and it's gonna be the Braves, the Padres, the Pirates, and the Twins. That's really where it's gonna be bulked up. So in the outfield, Acuna, Tatis, and Buxton, top end guys. I love all of them. I'd be happy to use them all. Value plays, lefty bats and Michael Harris II and Eddie Rosario. I think both those work. Brian Reynolds and Andrew McCutchen, Jake Sawinski, whole Pirates outfield. I'm ready to use. Yeah, and I think maybe Michael A. Taylor, if he's actually going to be sitting in that Twins lineup, if you can get a little twin stack, because I think that a twin stack is going to catch a lot of people by surprise. It's not going to be contrarian, but it's going to catch a lot of people by surprise.
I think it will, because their propensity to strike out against lefties this year has been high. So, like, I would actually split the difference and say it would be a little contrarian too. I think you're going to get the Twins a little owned because they've struck out a lot against lefties. So that remains to be seen. I'm okay getting to Minnesota. It's scary against a lefty. That's the only thing. It's a little scary. They have not been the same guys they've been. Now, I say that, and I have Byron Buxton as listed as one of my favorite plays. That's because a streaking Byron Buxton is the best Byron Buxton. He's been better over this weekend. I love Cedric Mullins, Anthony Santander, both those Baltimore guys I mentioned. I think they're going to hit Domingo Germán pretty hard. Juan Soto, as you mentioned, and Brian Reynolds back from the IL on Sunday. I like, to your Padres point, Trent Grisham's been awesome against right-handed pitching lately. I can get there. Sawinski, you know, more on him in a little bit. And then Henry Davis in the outfield. I know you mentioned him earlier as well. He should be hitting right in the middle of that lineup as well. Howard, this is my first pod with you since we've introduced this segment. So I like seeing Grande's Gems, and then next to it seeing Bender's Big Times. I like that. That's nice. You couldn't go. I mean, you know, there could have been a little more alliteration, but I'm not going to blame you for anything.
Big boys. You want big boys? I'll give you Bender's Big Boys. Here you go.
I wasn't going to say that, but Why don't you run down? Oh no, you typed
There
it
you
in the
go.
doc.
It's
That's
in the
unfortunate.
show doc right now.
That's
Bender's Big Boys. All right,
That's
you
so
ready? I'm going to talk to you about my Bender's Big Boys right
yes.
now.
Go while you're doing this with the voice, please.
Do I just run through all of them right here? Or do we go one and
Yes.
one? Which one?
Yes.
Which way you
Yeah.
want to do it?
No, you run through them all. Run through all your big boys.
Home run call of the night, Jake Cronenworth. I told you earlier, I was just something about him. It's gonna do something tonight. I said my top stack. I do. I like the Twins because I don't think they're gonna go as heavily owned, and I feel like the Braves are my contrarian stack because I feel like a lot of people are just gonna be afraid to just pay up. Like that's
Okay.
the thing is I think people are just gonna be afraid to pay up for the Braves there. Star of the night, Matt Olson. When isn't he the star of the night? And your value play of the night, I'm telling you, man, I'm going with Bryce Elder. Bryce Elder's going to help me get those big boy bats into my lineup because I'm going to put him and Wu in as my 2 starting pitchers.
Brian SP Wu. Got it. Yeah, Ooh, nice. My home run call is going to be none other than Jack Sawinski, and we're going to parlay that right into our top stack because I heard Michael Grove was the starting pitcher potentially, and that really gets me excited, really gets me going. Contrarian stack of the night, I'm going to go Orioles. I don't know how many people are going to attack Domingo Germán coming off the 24th perfect game in MLB history, but I will because I don't think Domingo Germán is who we just saw the last time out. Brian Reynolds, fresh off the IL. I don't care. He's my star of the night in my Pittsburgh stack. Michael Grove cannot pitch to left-handed bats. And speaking of Brian Spoo, what was the Brian Swoo? He is my value play of the night. Howard, we have a couple minutes remaining. I'm okay if we want to toy with the Elder Woo build here. If as we head into our lineup construction, it does allow us $4,400. That is going to allow us to get Braves. And I already know both you and I want Matt Olson in our build. If anybody else in the Braves lineup, it's Matt Olson coming off all the home runs he's hit lately.
Well, you got to put Brian Reynolds into the outfield because he's your star of the night.
Yep, agreed.
Now let's see what we can do as far as, here you go, as far as getting some of your O's in there and getting some of my my Braves in there. If the Twins make you a little nervous, I get that the Twins make you a little nervous, but
they do make me a little nervous.
I don't want you to freak out, man.
I mean, the cheapest Brave that we have available is Eddie Rosario. Actually, he's actually the cheapest, the quite literal. And is that someone that you'd have interest in 4,100? I mean,
oh yeah, absolutely, dude, absolutely.
Okay.
What did Braves lineup look like? Yeah, you go. Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right. Yeah. I told you, any lefty bat from the Braves,
okay,
I think works for me.
Westberg in at second, or third. Probably second's always like a kind of a position that we can plug and play a value in. Jordan Westberg, I think, fits there. I like him in the value tier. We got $4,200.
Gary Sanchez behind the plate.
Gary Sanchez behind the plate, 3,900. A little power bat there. What do we have for value? Do we have any like third base or shortstop value that we're really interested in? I know you want to play. We can't play Cronenworth. Unfortunately, he's first base only here.
Right. So get Kyle Farmer in there, huh? Or Correa. Get Correa at short. He's mid tier.
We can get Correa at short. Farmer. We could. Farmer's like a very good value. Does he play second and third?
I do. 400.
Yeah. He's free. Ooh, Howard.
Does that give us? What does that give
us? Soto.
Done.
Bryce Elder, Brian Wu, Gary Sanchez, Matt Olson, Jordan Westberg, Kyle Farmer, Carlos Correa, Brian Reynolds, Eddie Rosario, Juan Soto. $300 remaining. It's a good lineup, Howard. Good lineup. That will do it for us here. 5 p.m. We will be back. Not Howard, but I will be back with a surprise guest. I think it's Colby Conway. Haven't checked the schedule yet. But I think it's Colby Conway here at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here in the Better Sports Network and Fantasy Alarm for the Better Baseball DFS live show. For Howard, for James, we'll catch you guys later.